come home from a busy day, kiss the family, and go through the ritual of decompressing. Once the homework is done and the important discussions had, go to your safe spot and begin to type. Are these your first words of the day, or are they closing out your daily target? How do you find time to write, edit, market, and publish when everyday life demands so much of your time? Today, our panelists will discuss how they manage to write and bring home the bacon. Speaking of busy, C.L. Cannon brings you books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Bridgerton, Daphne's Story by Julia Quinn. As our show winds down, we tell you about the upcoming week in our Go Indie Minute. Finally, the panelists show off their hard work by reading an excerpt from their work in the epilogue. So give the cat some treats with the F1 race on record. Sit down at your media device of choice. It's time for another Hot from the Microwave This Week in Indies with your host, S.M. Hillman. Just for the record in the video was supposed to be record. I wrote that. I'm not sure how I messed that up. But welcome to another This Week in Indies with your host. I'm your host, S.M. Hillman. Everybody's working for the weekend, as the song goes. But for writers and other creatives, the weekend might just see a shift from 9 to 5 to the word cruncher. A creative mind never takes a day off, and this can lead to moments where you question your art and your sanity. So let's get introduced to our panel and find out how they make time for the spectrum of things life throws at us. And we will start with Ben.
Hi, folks. I am Ben Schenkman, urban fantasy author and audiobook narrator. And I have a kid, a job, a partner, a house, cats, here to share all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jessica?
I'm Jessica Nettles. I'm the author of Children of Menlo Park and many short stories. I have a day job as an English instructor, and I squeeze in writing and also going to various events to sell books and other creative things that I do. And I'm just kind of happy to be here.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Juliet?
Hey, y'all. I am Juliet Rose. I am the author of 14 solo novels, some collabs, some anthologies, things like that. I am a daytime librarian. I do events on the weekend. I don't know how I squeeze it all in, and I'm really, really tired.
And you deal with books all the time.
Yes. Every day, all day.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here. David?
Hi, I'm David Green. I write epic fantasy, cozy fantasy, and urban fantasy. I live in Ireland, and like everyone else, I have kind of busy days. I'm full-time carer for my son, who is autistic. I'm also the secretary for the British Fantasy Society, which is basically like a full-time job that I do in my spare time.
All the copious spare time, right?
Right.
Thanks for being here, David.
Thank you.
And Randy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Lee Boslaw. I'm from Canada. I also have a day job working in an office, so I stare at computer screens all day long to come home and then stare at computer screens some more while I write books, usually nonfiction. I also have an autistic child, another child, a grandkid, and lots of animals.
Awesome. Randy, thank you for being here. Thank you for this being your first time. We really appreciate you. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay, everybody else is in the right place. Okay. So Ben, I think we'll start with you. What has been your biggest challenge in regards? I hate to say like mundane life because that's not really fair. But I'll just say in your non-writing life, what's been the biggest challenge to your writing that you've come up against?
I mean, we're all going to have a lot of similar feedback that like just time itself, the linear progression of time is our enemy. I think the biggest challenge that I face is trying to manage all of this, but also with like my executive dysfunction. So I'm neurospicy, and I think I manage that pretty well, but like I have to be realistic with my expectations, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. But yeah, I really just my biggest challenge is is just the amount of time that we have in a day compared to all of the things that we have to do, and trying to figure out what gets put aside so that we can do those other things, really.
Do your cats help or hinder your work?
I would say it depends on the day. My cat. So I have a cat, and then my partner has 2 cats. So there are 3 cats in the house. And if my 22-pound cat is like warming my lap, maybe that's helping. If my 22-pound cat is scratching at the door crying for food, it's probably not helping.
Gotcha. Understood. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Jessica?
Time, just like Ben said, time. And I think my biggest enemy is me, if I'm completely honest. I mean, we can say, oh, it's time, but it's me. It's what's going on in my head at the time. So it's like, and trying to make that list of what's the most important thing to get done in this moment. So, especially with teaching and having to manage other people's writing, and then you read through all of that, and then you've got to manage your own writing, and then you've got to manage what's happening over the weekend. And so you've got to force yourself to look at your time and go, okay, when do I squeeze my stuff in, and how do I make sure that I remember that my stuff should be at the top of the list and not somewhere down in the basement somewhere.
So time and prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
Right. And how does your cat help or hinder?
Well, I have 2 cats. Ninja does not help. He's needy, or he wants me to come sit on the love seat with him and cuddle, or something like that. Luna is a little bit better. She sometimes will come sit in my lap and motivate me, or she'll get on the desk and assist me or manage me. So she's more my manager. So she helps. The only time they don't help is when they both want food, which is normal for kitty cats, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Juliet?
Yeah, well, I'll start with, I also have animals we rescue. So we have 6 dogs and 4 cats and a rabbit, and they never help. I don't know who thinks their animals help, but they're always a hindrance. But yeah, I would say for me, my biggest challenge, honestly, outside of time, and I switched jobs a couple of years ago. I was working from home, and it was a more kind of high-powered corporate job, and I moved to becoming a librarian. And you would think being a librarian would be more helpful, but actually what I do in the library is I'm the IT person for the patrons. I teach all the classes. I do genealogy. So all day long, I'm just being bombarded with questions and having to solve things and research things. So even when I have time, I don't always have the brain power. Like, I'm drained mentally. And so where my other job, even though it was kind of like one of those more high pressure, I felt like I could like walk away from it and like still have energy at the end of the day, where now a lot of times I get home and all I really want to do is stare at the wall.
Right. Understood. And do you ever get tired of looking at books or writing, since you deal with it all the time?
Not at all. I love books so much. And that is the part of the job that is always really like exciting and stimulating. When I do get to kind of handle that side, like I said, so much of my job as a librarian isn't dealing with books. It's actually dealing with computers. It's dealing with programming. It's dealing with genealogy, and less of kind of getting to talk about books and things like that. The books that I love, and that's very invigorating, but again, it's such a small part of what I actually do.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. David?
Yeah, it's similar. I think obviously I look after my son, who is autistic. I am autistic as well, and I have a job where I write copy for a website as well, which is like, and it's like something that I'm doing every single day for them. But I think for me, it's like, I'm quite happy to kind of find some kind of routine. It's always better when that happens, when I know I can go, well, this is how much time I have. This is what the day is going to look like. This is this, and so on and so on. But I think anyone who is like kind of in this panel or in the chat or I was watching afterwards, who is autistic, will kind of know that like there is always that kind of thing, that even if you're in your own home and you're kind of working from home or dealing with things, there's a point of where you have to kind of mask and you have to kind of try to meet up to other people's expectations, and that is mentally very, very draining. and kind of can be emotionally draining as well. And like the problems I've had with my autism is depression and anxiety and stuff like that, which can also be very kind of creatively draining. And so that is something that I kind of have to kind of balance and kind of look at, because what will kind of happen for me is if I'm particularly busy or other things that come up where, you know, I do prioritize my son in all things. And if something does come up, it gets to that point where it's like, well, what can I sacrifice? What do I have to give up in kind of my kind of routines? Which are also important, because I have routines to kind of make sure that I'm getting enough self-care, that I'm going for walks, that I'm doing exercise, that I'm eating and drinking, which I sometimes forget to do, especially if I'm busy. And these can kind of slip to the side. And with my kid, who is very, very creative, very, very inquisitive as well, he is just a sponge for information. And I don't want to kind of I don't want to kind of curtail that in any kind of way, because I think it's the right way to be. So I'm always trying to be open to ask questions, give information, to explain things and all this kind of stuff. And it can be anything from what it was like in the Anglo-Saxon England to to like, you know, who was the first person to discover another galaxy in space. And it can be in the same conversation. It goes from this to this, and that can be like very immensely draining. So once all that is done, sometimes it's very, very difficult to sit down and go, okay, now I need to figure out this scene, or I need to figure out this chapter, or I need to kind of like really delve into the you know, the weeds on this thing that I'm working on, because I'm just tired and drained, but like it has to be done at some point, you know. So just kind of getting that balance can be tricky sometimes.
Does your the other work you do, the copy that you write, are they like, can you say, hey, I'm having a busy day or something like that, or are they amenable to you being a little flexible in that regard?
Not really. I kind of have like a number of assignments that I need to do in a week. So as long as they're all done by PM on a Friday, they don't really care. If I did them all on Friday, they'd be happy with that. So I have that kind of flexibility, but it's like I have to have a certain amount of ones done by the Friday. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. Randy?
It's really hard going last because everybody said everything. So I will just kind of reiterate some stuff. So time is a big one, and I'm also autistic with my child, because it's funny how they get diagnosed and you go, oh, but they're just like, wait a minute, they're just like me, haha. So I very similar when it comes to like the depression side, which can really make writing difficult at times, but also the being sidetracked. I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I'm pretty certain that it's wrapped in there, but they're so similar. So I get distracted very easily, not like, ooh, squirrel, but like I will forget what I'm doing, and then something else becomes more important in my mind in that moment. So then I go and do that thing, and kind of roundabout way finally come back to the thing I'm working on, my writing, and I'm go, oh my gosh, I'm so tired now. Wait, what did I do all day? I half did 5 different things instead of finishing one thing, which is really super frustrating, and you know, makes your depression get worse, and it's the cycle. So I'm gonna say it's time is a big one, and trying to stay on track of what needs done, which can be hard when you are also having to go to work outside of the house for mine, and stare at a computer all day. Like Friday, I came home, I was so tired I could not even like open my eyes. My brain was working, but my eyeballs were not. And then just very similar to what David was saying, where his kid just wants to sponge and absorb all this information and ask a million questions, and you're so exhausted after. Mine is all about dinosaurs. She needs to tell me all about every single dinosaur, and it kind of makes my brain explode sometimes, which gets very hard to focus on the things that I want to do when it comes to my writing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at least dinosaurs are a cool subject to have to talk about.
Very cool. Very cool.
I mean, as is Anglo-Saxon England and Galaxies as well. So, writing nonfiction or mostly nonfiction, do you feel like that has I guess fiction and nonfiction are both challenging in their own ways, but what's the challenge with nonfiction, do you feel, trying to write on a Friday night when you basically have 30 minutes of time to write?
It's hard because I feel like I have to get into the right mindset when I'm writing the nonfiction. So, for instance, the cover of the photo that I've got up today, the Goodbye Too Soon, that's about my brother's death by drug overdose. It is hard to say, okay, I have 30 minutes to get in the mindset of, yes, okay, he's dead, so I can't cry because right now I need to focus on writing this book. It takes a little bit of extra focus, I would say, to put the emotional part away to focus on the words that need to be on the page. But then also I have to go back through and add the emotions later when I have more than, say, 30 minutes in this example to get the emotion, because that's really what I want to come through in these books is the emotional side of the problem's a bad word, but of the incident, I guess.
Right. Understood. Thank you. We have a very active chat here today, so let's go ahead and jump in get some of these comments.
Many about cats.
Many about cats. Vanessa, you see Vanessa on here occasionally and on Late Night News. I love Vanessa. Jessica, as I mentioned, breaking the fourth wall, followed by David, followed by Ben. Bob Magoo is here. Hello, Bob. Thank you for being here. Yep, looks like the gang's all here. Don't forget to mash the like button, y'all. We so many of us are in the southern United States, so yes, y'all have to say that. Hi, AF Stewart is here again, always. Thank you. Hello, AF. Tiffany's here. Books by Tiffany. Feel free to ask questions or jump in with us. Yeah, absolutely. Always feel free to jump in with questions of your own, and I will try and. It was like an AA meeting in that spirit. I'm Joe Compton, writer, and I have a day job. Oh, Joe. And I'm also tired, yeah. Bob works to support his cats until my cats learn how to support me, which was never going to happen, I'm pretty sure.
Nope.
Yes, also I'm tired. Yeah, I understand that. I'm also tired. They're thankless children, Bob. They'll never support us. It is 100% correct. My cats have made it clear they're going to work. Oh, yeah, mine as well.
So basically, it's cats, tired, and autism.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yes.
I mean, ADHD as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Cats are self-absorbed and make me write books about them. There we go.
Good.
Cat gang, 2 are lying beside me asleep at the moment. Hey, I've got one. I don't. You probably can't see her, but she's back sleeping on her perch. They just want food, and basement cat wants cuddles, but they're basically all committing. It's all they're committing to. Yep. And ceiling cat is watching you. Oh, yeah. Old lady cat who gives no F's about anything until she's hungry. Yep. My cats have kicked me out of my own office by pushing my Microsoft off the desk too far many times. The dogs just want pets. Wow, that is aggressive, but I understand it. I mean, laugh. Brain power is a big deal anytime you deal with people like that. Yep, agreed. Bob gets up at 4 each morning to write. Willow, which is a cat, thinks that she can make a better keyboard, so she moved my actual keyboard aside, all the better for me to pet her every dang morning. Yep. Jessica, Bob getting up early is one of the best ways for me to write, and we'll get to that in a second, actually. I need that time and space. I prefer to be up alone, which is something I can't get where I'm living currently. If I'm awake, my mother believes she needs to be awake too. I can still write, but it's harder. Yep, absolutely. Autism high five. Yeah, there we go. Dinosaurs. Goodbye Too Soon is an amazing read, y'all. Just have a box of tissues nearby. Spoilers, Joe. Come on. Thank you. Revised 5-year edition is coming out soon. Awesome. Excellent. Okay, so and Randy, we'll go ahead and start with you. What is your best tactic for getting time in to write?
Hiding in my room, actually. So a lot of times, every night we have to walk the dogs. My husband and I, we walk the dogs, and then we'll go. So what are you doing tonight? He goes, I don't know. Well, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, are we hanging out or are you playing video games? This is how our night goes. Everything. It's same conversation. And he's like, I don't know. And I go, okay, well, I got it right. So how about you tell me you're going to play video games? And then I don't feel so bad going in, just not spending any time with you. So that's the trick, is make my husband play video games. My kid is already playing video games. And then I can just quietly go in my room, headphones, loud music, usually punk rock, early 2000s punk rock. And then I can focus.
Any particular band?
I usually do like a Spotify playlist of literally 2000s early punk rock, but I really enjoy The Used is a really big one I love.
Awesome. Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. David?
I find murder is quite a good technique.
I need to try that.
Are you admitting something here, man? I just want to understand this.
I'm just saying, I think it's a very it's an underrated technique for time management, solving time management. But other than that, when I have more time in my hands, it's my son is at school for a few hours in the day, so I have that time where I have to do things. And what I used to do was, I'd say I'm going to do all the other things that I need to do, and then I will do my writing. And then inevitably I would run out of time, or I'd only have half an hour or what have you to do my thing. So I've switched that around a little bit in recent times, and I've gone, I'm going to do my stuff first and hit a certain kind of goal that I want to do, and then I'll do the other things. So in a way, it is prioritizing the thing that I want to do and the thing that kind of makes me happy and everything, because I genuinely like writing, I like the creativity, I like working on my own stuff. So that is what I do. Obviously as well, there is a certain, I think when you want to kind of become a writer, like a published writer, should I say, there is a certain amount of sacrifice that you have to do in terms of other things, like hobbies or other things like that in your life, because especially if you're going into kind of self-publishing, you have to basically be, your own manager. You've got to have to do a lot of advertising. You've got to have to do all this other stuff. So for me, I used to be a really big video gamer, and I am much less of a video gamer these days. In my heart, I still am a big video gamer, but in actual time spent playing video games, it is much, much less than it used to be. And that is one of the things that I was like, well, this is time that I could use in evenings or on whatever that I can use to write. So there is that. And, the dream is that, you get to a certain point where you don't need to do the other things as much, and you can just focus on your own things, and you've got the income coming in where you can be like, well, I can still also play games. But until you get there, then that is the reality. So it's you have to make a few kind of sacrifices, I think.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm a few years behind. I tend to like strategy games, which are much longer, right? You can't just jump in for 5 minutes on certain games. And so
right,
it's like I'm a few generations behind in terms of those, because they just take so much time and things like that. So I understand. I do. But in my heart, I'm still a strategy video gamer, right? I'm still a PC gamer. I do that all the time, at least in my head I do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And one day it'll come back and we'll be older and grayer. And,
yes.
But still just as cool.
That's right. It may be even cooler.
Maybe.
Thank you so much. Juliet?
Well, first I have to say, I love how David started with murder and ended with sacrifice. So I think there's a lot more about David that we don't know. So I'm going to say that. Honestly, for me, guilt is a great tool. I have to really kind of guilt myself into it, because a lot of times it's easy to say, well, I'm tired. I don't have the energy tonight, type of thing. So a lot of times I'll kind of spend some time really guilting myself into it. Well, if you don't do it now, or you're really a writer and things like that. It does help that Justin, my husband, and I are both authors. So a lot of times, instead of hanging out, we'll both just have our laptops and we'll sit next to each other and work on our stuff. So that definitely kind of helps move it along. But for myself personally, you know, it is really just kind of making myself feel like crap about not doing it, and then I do it.
Well, you shouldn't beat yourself up like that, though. I feel like I should
Don't
say.
tell me what to do. No.
If it works for her, you know.
Right. Does your husband? That's going to come out the wrong way. So, does your husband, or do you sometimes have to step in and be like, "Hey, go write something," or did he say, "Go write something, I'll take care of this," or things like that?
You know, he probably pushes me more than I push him, because I'm really bad about always having something else to do. You know, like I'll kind of say, well, first I need to do the dishes. First I need to, you know, pay the bill. So I tend to have this thing where I'm kind of, you know, self-defeating, and he'll remind me, he's like, if you don't, you know, you have a day off, you need to work on writing. Like, so he'll be more on me about doing that. And that does help, even though I grumble at him and say, don't tell me what to do. It does help get me in the mindset to like sit down and write.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Jessica?
Okay, so I am at my best like Bob in the wee hours of the morning. When everybody else is asleep, I prefer to write because it's quiet. I can make coffee. I can be left alone. I can think. I can hear everything. Sometimes this does not work. But if somebody's bumping around the house, it's a little harder. But still, it's my best time because that's when my brain functions the best. And I think it's because I'm almost close to that dream state, if that makes sense. I know that sounds really metaphysical.
Yeah, that's fine. We're all a little bit crazy, Jessica, so it's fine. Go ahead.
So it works. It works, right? I mean, if we can talk about murder, we can talk about this. So for me, it's tapping that part of my brain that's only awake when I'm half dreaming, right? So that works. I also find going to different spaces, I actually write in coffee shops. For me, it's a real comforting place because I can get coffee and the noise level most of the time is just about right. And as long as I can find a comfortable chair or a comfortable table, it's a really great thing. So my next novel that is coming out, a good majority of it was written in the coffee shop around the corner from my house. And that's just because, and I made a habit for like about 6 months to go to the coffee shop almost every day, if I could possibly do it, and write for a little while. And I know a number of other authors that do that too.
Right. Do they recognize you on site at the coffee shop?
Oh yeah, they do.
Gotcha. Do they know
They'll
you're a
ask me how I'm
writer?
doing. Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So they'll ask me how I'm doing or what I'm working on or whatever, which is kind of nice.
Do you find that sort of, it's not an impersonal relationship, but it's sort of that kind of relationship where your coffee people recognize you enhances the experience when you go to the coffee shop?
I think so. I like that personal experience, and just it makes it a home away from home, which okay, I'm going to back it up. So I worked for Starbucks in the 90s when there was that whole home away from home attitude at that big place, right? And I really hold on to that belief. For a good coffee shop to work, it has to feel like it's your other living room. And so I really look for that in a coffee shop. And I really look for the folks behind the counter to get to know you a little bit and to be interested in what you're doing and, talk to the customers and get to know you. And if you're in there enough, they should kind of know who you are, kind of understand what your drinks are and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it really does enhance the experience. At least it does for me.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have two things. So one, I have to be contrary to the time of day. I cannot morning. So I tend to write in the evenings specifically. So I have my son half the time. So when I have my son, I write after he goes to bed usually. But even when I don't have him, I tend to write in the evenings because I've got a day job and other things going on. And again, I cannot morning, therefore evenings are the time. And the best thing for me to do is I set aside time every day to do something. Either it's writing sprints. Like I really love doing writing sprints because it's a way to focus my brain for at least like 20-25 minutes at a time. And I can do 500 words in 20 minutes. And that's like, usually that's my minimum word count per day that I try to like hit just to keep progress. So I can do more than one, or I can just say, I did one, I'm done. My brain can't handle it anymore because the world is currently both terrifying and exhausting. So I've been having a hard time being creative even when I have time for it. But I want to also second coffee shops. I love coffee shops for writing. My partner and I have what we call coffee shop time because they are an introvert and also, you know, they're ADHD. I am ADHD. We enjoy our own interests, but we enjoy them together. And we go to a coffee shop and then spend an hour at least having a drink. And then I write and they read books or do art on their tablet. And not an insignificant portion of my novels have been written either at Familiar's Coffee and Tea in Northampton, Massachusetts, or Share Coffee in Amherst. So coffee shops also, like, it's funny, but like I feel like I'll never put on a beret to go be an artist because like that's too much of a stereotype. But I feel like an author sitting in a coffee shop writing my novel. So like it puts me in a creative space where I can be like, yes, I am here specifically to do this, and therefore I will get more of it done.
Right. I remember when I would tell my partner and our daughter, I would say, all right, so I'm going to go to work, not the work I did at home, but writing, right? Writing was a part of that work. So I'd go there and have that mindset, right? So it worked a little bit better that way. Instead of just, I'm running away from the two of you to get some work done or to get some writing done. It was like, no, I'm going to work for a few hours to the coffee shop, come back. And that worked out really well for me. So. Awesome. All right. So we have a lot more comments. I will get to a few of them. But it's great that for people are participating for sure. That's we already see that from Bob. Dinosaurs. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yep. That's so much grass to go away to hide bodies. That's correct. Having a laugh at Joe. 2000 Punk for the win. I agree with Ben with Rise Against. Juliet and DZ are just kind of the best for supporting each other. I've seen it. That's true. I've seen it as well. They do support each other really well. Yes, coffee shops so focused there. Yeah, for sure. Create This Week in Indie OO's punk rock playlist. Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Yep, I would listen to it as well. I tend to be 80. I mean, Vanessa knows this, but we tend to be the 80s listeners. But I'd listen to it. I might even make it. Respect those who write evenings. I write all the time. I don't ever sleep, so that's my secret. And I used to not be outdoing. My CPAP was helpful. All right, awesome. Here's the real questions. Do they know your go-to order? How long did it take them to get your name right? For sure. All right. Okay, so we will go ahead and now it is time to hear from CL Cannon for our Indie Connection.
Hey guys, C.O. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. And today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. The first book I have for you is called A Duke of One's Own by Emma Orchard. Summer 1816. A notorious rebel is about to meet her match. Lady Georgiana Pendlebury is no stranger to breaking the rules of polite society. But when a so-called friend invites her to a clandestine party, Georgiana is shocked to discover the event is more scandalous than even she could have imagined. So when a mysterious stranger offers help, she accepts, not realizing their encounter will turn her life upside down. Later that summer, Georgiana is invited to attend a house party at an infamous castle in Yorkshire. The gathering is a loosely veiled effort to arrange a marriage for the Duke of North Riding, who desperately needs an heir. Duke Gabriel Mauleverer has a terrible reputation as a rake, and Georgiana is happy to be a guest purely for the entertainment, but upon arrival, she is shocked to discover that the Duke is none other than the stranger who rescued her weeks earlier. As the other ladies vie for the Duke's attention, Georgiana is desperate to avoid their shocking secret getting out, but she finds herself caught unable to avoid Gabriel's gaze. Are they a threat to each other, or could they be the answer to each other's greatest desires? The second book I have for you is called The Persephone Code by Julia Golding. 1812. Deep below the hills of the Buckinghamshire countryside, the infamous Hellfire Caves house a pleasure palace for the idle rich, a society steeped in Satanism, opium, and debauchery of the highest order. When the club's warden, Anthony Pennington, is brutally murdered, his bastard sister, Dora, must follow the clues to decode who the killer is, aided by an unexpected ally, ex-army officer, former opium addict, and son of a viscount, Dr. Jacob Sandys. As a shadow dogs their every footstep, Dora and Jacob find themselves in the midst of a shocking conspiracy, caught between the legendary Illuminati and the Hellfire Club. With time running out, they must fight against both the most influential gentlemen of the ton and the undeniable attraction they feel towards each other. The next book I have for you is called The Mismatch of the Season by Michelle Kenny. Miss Phoebe Fairfax dreams of being as free as her 4 brothers. When she discovers she is to be wed to a repugnant earl who is old enough to be her grandfather, she decides to embark on a real adventure. Enter the insufferable and insufferably gorgeous Viscount Damerel. And the last book I have for you is called Lady Lumilla's Accidental Letter by Sophie Lepore. A resolute spinster, an irresistible rake, one accidental letter. Can love triumph over this hopeless muddle in the middle of the London season? Lady Ludmilla Windermere is mortified. The spinster extraordinaire has fallen in love with her best friend, and that cannot be. The problem? She hasn't met him. Not once, for they have only ever corresponded by letter. When she sets out to uncover his identity, her world shatters, for Addie turns out to be none other but London's worst rake. Adrienne St. Addington is perturbed. The rake hell extraordinaire is developing a marked tender for a spinster, and that cannot be. The problem? She might be mistaking him for someone he is not. Or, what is worse, know precisely who he is. A depraved heart like his surely cannot fall in love, least of all with a plain, outspoken spinster. Determined to discover the truth behind the man she loves, Lou does what she does best. She sits down and writes a letter. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye.
I'll be honest, for the last 50-some years of my life, I hadn't put together the fact that viscounts and viscounts are the same word. But now I know.
Yeah, you know.
Now I know. All right. So let's talk a little bit about family. And I know this could be a touchy subject, obviously, so only share what you works for you. But how important is your immediate household to your writing, and or how much of their time, how much of your time do they take up with with things that they need and stuff like that? How is a relationship with your family members, your people in your household affect your writing? I know we've touched on it a little bit, but specifically, and anybody can put us up anywhere.
I can start. I mentioned writing in the evenings. Like, my son he just turned 10. It's actually his birthday yesterday. And I don't try to get anything writing related done for the most part when he's awake. Like today I'm doing this panel and he's playing video games in the other room. but like unless it's something, you know, special like this, like I don't try to write during those times. So by his simple existence, you know, anything having to do with him takes up time. My partner is super supportive of my writing and any author things that I do. So if I need to take time during time that I might otherwise spend with them, like they're always going to understand. But it's tough though, because like you don't want to neglect your family in favor of this passion that you have. And sometimes I think that's where it can get pretty muddled up, in that we have to do our best to actually segment our lives in such a way that we're not neglecting one thing over the other all the time. You know, if we've got deadlines and other things, it's one thing to say, hey, I can't do X, Y, and Z. I really need to work on these edits because I've got a release coming up. But but I think, you know, the big challenge is setting aside time for all of the different things, and they're all going to be competing priorities. So, you know, I would say, like, especially for writers that have kids, and sorry, I'm not talking about your fur babies. I'm talking about like the small humans. I know pets take up time, but I think it's different when it comes to uh, having to raise children while also being a creative. But you know, again, it's all degrees. So I would say every family just takes up a lot of time. But that's what we signed on for. So you just you do what you can to prioritize things.
Yeah, awesome, gotcha. Others have thoughts?
I mean, I do agree with Ben. I didn't write for 15 years because I was raising my kids. I had gotten through a divorce and I had 2 young children at home still, and I was working full time. And, you know, by the time I got home, I really wanted to make sure that I gave them the attention that they deserved, helped with homework, dinners. When they went to bed, I was pretty tired. You know, I have no regrets about the 15 years that I really didn't write. When they hit adulthood, I took it back up. And, you know, they do still live at home. And so there is some level of like that interaction and wanting to spend time. But it definitely is a lot easier now than it was when I had little kids, you know, to say, hey, I'm going to take some time to myself. And again, there's no regrets with that. I don't say, oh, darn it, I didn't write for 15 years. You know, I can look at my kids and I'm glad that I shifted that attention towards my family in that time. And now I can shift it back. But, you know, there also is the element of how long do we live? You know, am I ever going to get to pick things back up? And I did worry about that in that time. I'd say, gosh, you know, am I ever going to really feel like the drive to write again? Because I wrote in my 20s and 30s and then took that break. And, you know, there was a little bit of that mental struggle with wondering if it was just done, if it was over. And then, like I said, they grew up and I came back to it. So that was really awesome.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
I can go next.
Sure.
So it's very similar to what Juliet was saying, right? Where it's kind of you take a little bit of a break when they're little. So with mine, she actually we had to homeschool for a while. With my youngest one, we had to do a lot of very hard things with her to get her to where she is now. She's the one that has autism. She's 19 now, and still, I mean, lots of struggles and things, but so she's come so far that now I'm like, okay, yeah, you do your thing, I can do my thing. It's not nearly as difficult as it was, except there's still this fine line that you have to walk, because though she's 19, I mean, mentally much younger, I would say. With her friends stuff, she acts like maybe a 13-year-old, which is, again, a long way from what she was before. But we also have to be very vigilant on what she's feeling, because she does get severe depression and has attempted multiple times. So it's that fine line of, okay, she's cool, she's playing with her friends, she's doing her thing, but then you don't know what's going on in her brain. So just that's always in the back of my mind when I've been able to write for a few days in a row. I'm like, maybe I better go check on Love, because who knows what's going on in that brain of hers. So it gets easier, but it never I don't think for my situation anyways, I don't think it's ever going to be 100% where I could be like, yeah, cool, she's totally self-sufficient and I can just focus on my fun stuff. She's always going to need that extra support. So it's trying to figure out and how to work that into the day-to-day routine with still giving her some freedom because she is getting older. But also I have to like really get her routine down because she does not have that function to have her own routine. So it's a tricky fine line, but I think as kids get older, ideally we get more time to be creative.
Right, for sure.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit. So I did a lot like Juliet did, and I raised my kids, and I wrote, but I didn't really do anything specific or serious for a while because I went to school. That was my thing. I was teaching and I went to school and raised my kids. And so I was writing for school. I was writing a little bit for myself, but the idea of being published at that point was just like, I looked at it and went, not now. And so I had to wait for my kids to grow up before I started really poking the idea again. My attitude is family is always first. So, you got to look at that. And I am lucky in that the family supports what I do. And as much as I grumble about some things sometimes, really everybody's very supportive. The kids are supportive. The parents are supportive. So, I'm in a good spot. It's just, dodging time and that kind of stuff. But I have more time now than I have in my entire life. And so the creativity, of course, has gone up. And it's been actually pretty good. Once again, my biggest enemy is me. And I know that. There are little things that annoy me, but nothing that, if I'm really honest, I can't overcome, if that makes sense at all.
Yep, for sure. And
Yeah.
you never know, Jessica, you might have a nemesis out there somewhere who's a bigger
Oh, I might. It might be you. It might be you. Who knows?
Well, it's nothing. It's just business, Jessica. It's nothing. It's just business.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he tries to kill me on a monthly basis on Hit the Dice, so
Yes, exactly. David?
Yeah, what was the question again?
how does our family affect how big an influence or how big of an issue? I mean, you've talked about your son, the things that you do for your son as far as our writing goes, right? How much of your time is spent with family, and are they understanding when you have to do some writing?
I'd say my son is the most understanding of all, although he likes to have all the books dedicated to him, which is fine because that's usually okay anyway, because he's my biggest not influence, I suppose, but inspiration. I can hear a cat as well.
Did you?
It's very yeah. It's the cat has lots to say. It's a funny one because my parents, which I'm lucky enough that they're still alive and they live quite close. My son is their only grandchild, so they like spending time with him because it's the only one we're ever going to have. So they will and he loves them, and they have a big farm with lots of animals and stuff like that. So that cat is really loud.
I'm sorry. Can people hear my cat?
Yes.
Is that your cat? Wow.
I am so sorry.
The cat is having a great time.
No, he's not. I'm sorry. I'll mute when I'm not talking then.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the cat completely disturbed me. Threw me off. And he loves going there. So he gets they'll look after him maybe one day, for a few hours. He'll go over there for 6-7 hours a day one day. So I have a full day where I can just dive into it. But in other ways, Ollie, who that's my son's name. I got my, similar to Randy, I got my autism diagnosis through him. So he was diagnosed first, and then the psychologists were like, "How come you didn't send in your diagnosis forms when with the intake?" And I was like, "What diagnosis forms?" And they're like, "Are you not autistic?" I was like, "I don't think so." And they're like, "You should go and get that checked out. Here's the number for an adult psychologist to do it." And I was like, "Okay." And it kind of figures out quite a lot of stuff. So I mean, the book that is pictured here and that I'll be reading from later on, Magic, Maps and Mischief, is about autistic identity. It's about it's written by an autistic person, and it's an autistic character, and it's about kind of like finding your place in the world and trying to kind of show like the kind of stuff that we are really great at and what we struggle with, and that was very, very much, a lot of that comes from me, but a lot of that comes from my son as well, in terms of like seeing him navigate his life and it being part of his identity at such an early age, in terms of that we know about it. I mean, I was 38 or 39 when I got my diagnosis. He was 4. So it's going to be such part of, he is very, very open about it. He knows about it. His friends know about it. And he kind of views the world through the lens of, I am an autistic person, from a very early age. So it was for me, and I am interested in writing about people on not your typical heroes and heroines in stories, and to kind of explore that kind of side of things. It's been really, really freeing. It's been really cathartic, really, really enjoyable. And it's been amazing. That was particularly the response to this book, that so many people have said, I've been waiting all my life to see someone like me in a book, and that is very, very much the inspiration from him in particular. So yeah, the family has a big influence on what I do and how I'm able to do it.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Last question before we get into our various end game bits. What about friendships? And this could be very quick, just a couple words on it. I know I'm fortunate to have friends who are writers, much more now than I was, and that's created a space where it's okay to be my writer self and express those needs around them. But what about friends? Do you find that some of your friends have a hard time understanding what you're doing, or have friendships survived your author life? Anything in particular that stands out to you?
I can talk to that. So first, I would say I didn't have any good solid friendships till I was an adult, but that probably came from, now I know that I was autistic and didn't understand anybody as a teenager. But my best friend, she helps with a lot of my writing. She'll give me a lot of great feedback, which is fantastic. And I just keep, I mean, unless somebody is going to be okay with the fact that I am a writer, autistic, talk about mental health, all that stuff, we don't need to be friends. So all the friends I have, they're definitely supportive.
Awesome. Excellent.
I'll talk. I'm sorry, David. Did you want to go?
No, that was Ben, I think.
Oh, Ben. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So for the most part, I've managed to hold on to most of my friends. There's a few people who have fallen by the wayside for various and sundry reasons. And I mean, my attitude is this: some friendships are meant to last and some are there for a certain amount of time. And, you figure that out pretty quickly. I've made a lot of friends who are writers, which helps an awful lot. And I have a lot of friends who are creatives, which is also just wonderful because, they kind of get what you're going through too. And I think that's important, is to build a community of people, not so much that are, well, maybe that are like-minded, but also have, backgrounds that are similar to yours in a lot of ways, so they can understand what you're going through. And that doesn't mean everybody's the same and everybody believes the same, but what that means is if they've got similar experiences, they kind of know what you're going through. They can kind of support you, and they kind of understand when you say, hey, I've got to take this weekend and go do this thing because I've got to get through this and I have a deadline. Or, you know, I'm going to go and do this show, so I'll see you. Or they may call you and say, hey, you want to go write for however long, over the weekend and go to the beach and go write. And it's like, yeah, let's go. So I feel like I've been pretty lucky.
Awesome. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, just turn your regular friends into writing friends, because it's weirdly contagious and we're all neurodivergent. So a number of my even long-term friends are now also authors themselves. So it all just dovetails together at this point.
Awesome. Yep. Infect your friends. It's a great way to do it. David or Juliet?
Infect your friends. Isn't that the plot of the thing?
It is.
It's a lot of plots.
Yeah. I'm one of these people very similar to Randy, that I've had friendships come and go over the years, and a lot of it can be put down to autism for not kind of keeping it. However, on the other side of that, I have the same best friend that I had since I was 11 years old, and we see each other all the time, and he is also what Ben did. I brought him into the publishing world. He doesn't write himself, although he actually has been writing a little bit, but he's very in there. And we go to a lot of cons, and a lot of my friends have become people in the scene. So which is great, because I think, as a writer, you really need someone that you can vent to, that completely understands where you're coming from, right? That you can just be just talking about these make-believe characters that are ruining your life, that you can just just really have a go. And then just all the stuff that's around the publishing, like the pressures and the all the kind of things that come with it, especially if you're kind of going through like querying or submission and stuff. It's great to have people that exactly know what you're going through, that you can talk to about it. And they're very, really helpful with all that kind of stuff. And I think it's one of those things as well, as you're getting older, it's hard to keep hold of friends as you get older because of just the way things go, right? But also now with COVID, I think there was a resurgence and maybe a normalizing of which people have been doing anyway, but became very, very mainstream, of like, you can just be friends by talking to people online and seeing them online. And a lot of people joined or started D&D groups online and all that kind of stuff, which is a way that I socialize with my friends now. Like, I'm at that stage of life where I don't go out to like clubs or anything like that anymore, and all that kind of stuff. I'll go out for a coffee, or I'll see them or I'll see them at a convention, or I'll see them online and play D&D with them, which is great because it's fun, it's different, and also it's creatively invigorating as well. D&D, you can always it's plentiful of amount of ideas come from a D&D session.
Oh, it's true. It absolutely is true. But it's one reason I love that we do Hit the Dice on this channel. So once a month, we get a lot of fun with that, don't we, Jessica?
Oh yeah. You should come join us, David.
You should
come die with me.
Absolutely. All right.
Amazing.
So everybody's welcome to join. So the more the merrier. All right, it is time. Thank you all so much for sharing what sometimes is very personal stuff, and we do definitely appreciate that. I think a lot of people could get something out of that. But now let's transition over to this week's shows. Starting on Monday, we have premiering at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. They're all Eastern Time. Saving a Seat. For you, and first indie movie reviews of 2026 from Brian and Joe, and our first guest recommendation from SM Hillman. That's me. Who coincidentally is our first anime review too. Plus, they paid tribute to Catherine O'Hara. Wednesday night live at 8 is Trope or Not to Trope. AF Stewart, hello AF. Welcomes Wayne Turmel. Wayne is someone who appears on this show from time to time. And they debate the merits of the literary trope Haunted by the Past. that should be a good one. I look forward to that. Friday night premiere at 8 p.m. Behind the scenes, Brian Joe's #1 favorite indie movie of 2026, as they sat down with filmmaker Greg Porper. Greg, I apologize if I messed that up. Greg Porper, to talk about the making of the movie. And then Sunday, This Week in Indies, next with Joe Compton. He leads a roundtable discussion on how to create and maintain momentum in your work. So please join us join us this week in lots of different places. All right. Jessica and Juliet had to pop off, so we will go ahead and move to our epilogue. All right. Where our panelists read some excerpt of their work. Who wants to start us off? All right, I'll choose. Randy, you go first.
I was going to say, well, if nobody's offering, I guess I'll do it. Alrighty then. So I'm going to read the first bit of Goodbye Too Soon, A Family's Lost by Drug Overdose.
Okay. 1 second. And there's a QR code for the book. And go right ahead.
Excellent. Where'd it go on my screen? Hold on. It's here. There it is. Okay. So this book is about my brother's death by drug overdose. It came out 5 years ago, but I've revised it. So this is brand new content for the book that is coming out on June 20th, which would have been his 42nd birthday, something like that. All right. So this is the prologue. Time passes. It has been 5 years since Brandon died, and it still feels surreal. Sometimes when I'm driving down the street, I think I see him. Then I remember it can't possibly be him. It's a tall, broad-shouldered person wearing a hat and similar clothes, but it can never be him again. Being brought back to the reality that he is dead after a glimpse of him is an odd feeling, a fleeting sensation of love before the blow of sinking despair. It breaks my heart that, though I lost Brandon, his death did not have a significant impact on my day-to-day life. I lost him years before his death, and I rarely spoke to or saw him in the years leading up to his death. I wish things had been different between us, but maintaining distance from those who drain your emotions is essential to keeping your health. That is precisely what I chose to do. Reflecting on my grieving process for the various people that I have lost over the years brings a strangeness to the loss of Brandon. My paternal grandparents were elderly. I have many good memories of them. My maternal grandmother was very ill and in the hospital. We knew her time was coming. Even though we were never truly ready to say goodbye, there was still a sense that it was time. However, I grieved my brother for a decade before I grieved his death. Many types of grief aren't discussed, such as the grief of a loved one who is still alive but unable to maintain a healthy relationship. We grieve the relationship that was and the future of what could have been. Many people have asked why I wrote about Brandon's death. It was briefly explained in the original print. However, now that 5 years have passed, it is time to examine it in greater depth. If not for these books and podcast discussions, Brandon would just be another statistic. He would be merely a number amongst many others who have died by overdose. His struggle would remain under the radar, and his story would be dismissed and marginalized. Addiction and overdose are something that politicians and decision makers discuss in the broadest sense, asserting that there is an epidemic, but never coming up with a constructive strategy to contend with it. Brandon, as an individual, would be gone. Sharing his story is not only a way to keep him alive, but also to preserve his individuality. Part of that individuality was how much he always wanted to help others, even when he couldn't help himself. So, this is written to help other families who may be struggling with a similar loss of a loved one, whether that is before their death or after. The grieving process did not become easier. Sharing our story of loss and Brandon's story of struggle has and will continue to help others. Updating Goodbye Too Soon after years of grieving has given me time for reflection. There are things I was unsure how to share previously, and more research has been conducted on this revised version. Beyond our story. This is more than a story. This is hope. Thank you. Thank you.
Did we lose Sean?
Oh, here I am. I'm muted myself. All right. So who wants to go next?
I can go.
Okay. Ben, let me grab your book here
Yeah.
and focus on you.
I'm going to be reading from my upcoming release that's out for pre-order, My Brother's Keeper, and talking about things that get in the way when it comes to family. What gets in the way more than a funeral, which is how my book opens. So we're just going to start there. A shovel full of dirt weighs about 5 pounds. The one in my hands was heavy enough to drag me straight to hell. Good thing Jews don't believe in it. There's a Jewish tradition where each member of the family lays shovels of dirt onto the open grave using the wrong side of the head. It's meant to show the reluctance and difficulty in a loved one passing to the other side. Each mourner does the same, usually returning the tool to the pile of dirt each time instead of passing it hand to hand. It's almost like we're afraid death is contagious. The cold April rain beat a steady tattoo on the umbrellas held against the weather. My dark brown hair fell in wet strands into my face. The drops from above streaked down my cheeks, replacing the tears that wouldn't come. Everyone else's eyes burned into my chest and back, and I realized time had passed without me twitching a muscle. It was me, my shovel, and the awkward pile of earth. The claw dropped wetly onto the top of the coffin, and I placed 2 more before stabbing the spade into the pile and moving to stand next to my sister-in-law. Sheltered under her umbrella, she grabbed me by the bicep and squeezed. "You don't have to do this if you don't want to, Gabs," I said, patting her hand gently. Her eyes were red from crying, her nose raw despite the soft tissue she held. "Of course I do, Max." Gabriella Asher, Gabby, or Gabs for short, handed me her umbrella and stepped bravely forward to her husband's graveside. Her son, Jacob, filled the gap left by his mother and took my hand as a cheap replacement for hers. She hefted the shovel, which seemed to have gained the mass of a black hole, staggering toward the open pit. 1, 2, 3, and it was done. I knelt and whispered to Jacob, "Okay, just like we talked about." He turned wet eyes to me. "Uncle Max, can you come with me?" I was overwhelmed and numb, but my heart would have broken if I had one. "Sure, kiddo." I kept his small hand in mine as we walked together to the mound. The tradition being what it was, the cemetery staff had erected a tent over the pile. It wouldn't do to have any elderly attendees breaking their backs performing this last mitzvah for the dead. He stooped and grabbed a handful of dry earth, and we moved together to the graveside where I held the umbrella over us both as he sprinkled his small offering over the top of his father's casket. His father, my brother, identical twin to be more precise, which explained the strained glances I had gotten the entire day as soon as I rolled into the proceedings with Gabby. It was hard enough showing up as an estranged brother, but being the outcast who looked exactly like the poor schmuck being buried today was too much for most people. I had smiled, shaken hands, and made pleasantries, but it wasn't a good day for anyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Yeah, that was excellent. That was excellent. David, what you got for us?
Well, unfortunately, it has nothing to do with death or funerals, so it doesn't continue the theme of this one. So I'm reading from Magic Maps and Mischief. It's a little bit way through the book where Gretton has decided that he's going to make a magical ink that he can put onto a parchment that will chart people's heart's desire, and he's trying to figure out how that's going to work. So it's just a little bit from there.
Awesome.
All in all, Gretton enjoyed his life as a map shop owner well enough. More than well enough, in fact. He woke each day eager to work on his maps and to learn more of his customers' wants and needs. Many wanted fanciful creations, and travellers desired charts or drawings of their faraway homeland. Maps of Holtveld proved popular. Some asked for depictions of Barrows Hill itself, and these were Gretton's favourite to work on, as it allowed him to study other maps and to explore the city when he could, building a mind map of his new home as he did. But was it his heart's desire? He asked himself the question each day, several times a day, in fact. His new life certainly made him happy, though many things spread joy in his heart, but he wouldn't call them his desire. So the old man took the day off and marked it down as a day to delve into his arts in search of the answer. Where to begin? Greta mused, staring at his desk. A notebook lay open, filled with scribbles detailing his experiments so far. None had achieved what he wanted, though he'd begun to master the manipulation of ink with his magic. Now the details and drawings on his maps shimmered as well as moved, and he'd even worked out a way for the sun and moon to journey across the parchment, turning his charts from night to day and back again. But none had revealed his heart's desire. Well, Atty, it seems that my experiments, while productive in other ways, are yet to yield exactly what I want, which means I have been doing something wrong. Or, to be exact, they are not wrong, just not right. Simply put, I am yet to discover the correct way of doing what I desire. But each time I do create an ink the wrong way, I discover what is not right, and that is no bad thing at all. Narrowing his eyes at the admitted mess before him, he spotted a shimmering ink kept in a vial he'd worked on the night before, and reached for it. Take this one, for example. As soon as Gretton lifted the vial, the stopper, having not been fastened properly the night before, popped out. Shimmering ink spilled across Atlas's talons. The owl squawked at the same time as Gretton yelled in surprised dismay, and the tawny hopped away from the spreading lake of glistening darkness. He landed on a piece of parchment, leaving an imprint of his talons emblazoned across the page. The paper fluttered beneath him, the shimmering inky outline giving it life. Atlas screeched again and bounced away, wings fluttering as he attempted flight, but his damaged feathers wouldn't allow anything but a wild lurch. He landed on a perch, the ink spreading beneath him, and the stand began to dance on the spot. Atty, Gretton cried, calm yourself. It's just a bit of magic. It won't cause any. But the owl didn't listen. He leaped away from his dancing perch and landed on an armchair. It too began to wobble, the shimmering ink spreading from Atlas's touch as if the piece of furniture tried to lift off from the floorboards. Atlas scattered around, hopping and leaping from parchment to floorboard, everything his ink-covered talons touched finding life. The furniture and paraphernalia danced to a silent music only they could hear, and Gretton chased his friend around his study, dodging the bopping chairs and perches in his doomed pursuit. Talon-marked paper flung itself into the air, the curtains twitched, books bounced and chairs trembled, all caught in the vortex of Atlas's frenzied journey. The old man grabbed a handful of beetles from their box, shuddering at their hard but smooth feel, and planted his feet in the middle of the room. Atty, to me, look, food. Squawking, the tawny spun, eyes rounded and a set of twin suns, and jumped between his jolting perches before taking flight and landing on Gretton's shoulder with a thump that set the scholar stumbling backward. Oh my, the old man cried as his limb twitched with the owl gripping on for dear life, wings spread in frozen astonishment. I feel like, Gretton gasped, I feel like I want to fly. Bouncing on the spot, the old man held out his hand, and Atlas gulped down the beetles with frantic relish. The room continued to hop and bop. Everything marked with the Tawny's talons jiggered, and Gretton laughed. They are all trying to fly. Turning back to his desk, he gazed down at the shimmering ink, the pieces of paper flinging themselves around now ignored. Is that your heart's desire, Atty? You want to fly again? It seems this ink has transferred your need to everything you have touched. He grinned at his friend, whose grip hadn't relaxed. I think we are on the right track. And that's it.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah,
Thanks.
fantastic. All right. Let's go around the room. Randy, we'll start with you. Tell folks, let me try that again. Tell folks where they can find you on the interweb.
Everywhere. If you just do my name, Randy Lee Boslaw, I will come up Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Those are all the things. And then my website is rbwriting.ca. And on Amazon, yeah, my name again, Randy Lee Boslaw, and you will find all of the things.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you for being here today and sharing everything. It was really great to have you.
Thanks. I had fun.
Good. David?
Hi, you can find me here at, there we go, Jupe. davidgreenwriter.com. All of my social links for like Blue Sky and Instagram and so on are all there, as are my books, including the one that is read, Magic Maps and Mischief, which is on paperback and ebook. And there is an audio book coming from Simon and Schuster this spring, I think May, I believe.
Awesome. Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.
And Ben.
All right. You can find me at benschenkman.com. If you like any of my work, please go pre-order my March 30th upcoming release of My Brother's Keeper, a Jewish urban fantasy. But yeah, you can find all my books, my multiple series, and all my socials on my website.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you for being here today. And we also thank your cat, who was fantastic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? Are they a help or a hindrance? He is definitely a hindrance.
It's all good. I had no problem with it. All right. I want to thank the three of you so much for being here and to sharing bits of your life and writing life with us. I want to thank Jessica and Juliet, who had to pop off because we were running long. And they were great as well. I want to thank everybody who was in the audience, everyone who broke the fourth wall and everyone who just came to watch. We appreciate you being here. Like and subscribe. If you're watching on Memorex in the future, feel free to comment then. We'd love to talk, respond to comments there as well. I think we had a really good show today, despite my typical production woes. So I want to thank everyone and wish you a good Sunday, because it is always time to go indie now.